And it is that time of the week. It is This Week in District 10. Tom Reisenweber joining us from Erie. And Tom, what a wild, 10 days or 11 days for the District 10 basketball tournament coming to a conclusion on Saturday. And a incredible performance by a lot of teams. Of course, Mercer County winning 5 titles in boys is something that may never be matched again. Just a couple of your thoughts about the 2019 District 10 basketball tournament.
Yeah, it's funny. Mercer County wins every boys title that they could. They couldn't even. The only title they won was 5A because of Meadville and Prep. But this is the first year since 2003 Erie has not had a boys D10 champion, and before that it was 1966. So kind of an unprecedented year. It's been a great year for the South on both boys and girls sides of the basketball. There were some really good games this past week. One game that stuck out to me was the Fairview-Sharon boys game. Sharon gets out to a pretty solid lead. Fairview chips away, and Sharon, Fairview showed a lot of heart getting back in that game, but Sharon did a great job with clutch plays at the end, hang on to win the D10 title. Ethan Porterfield is a special player and had some big-time plays in that game. But just, overall, there were some decent games. Some games that come down to the last second. But there's also a lot of blowouts with 6 classes. So you get kind of the good and the bad. But overall, it was a pretty entertaining postseason for the D10 teams, and hopefully they all have a pretty good postseason in the PIAA playoffs now.
Just looking at the brackets themselves and the results, and we can run them down quickly. But if I'm looking at this correctly, the tournament pretty much, at least when it comes to the champions, was pretty much all chalk. Am I right on that?
Yeah, pretty much. I wouldn't say there's any big shocks there as far as D10 champions. I think 5A girls was kind of the open class. Didn't really know what was going to happen there. And Hickory sent a loud message with that one by knocking off Harbor Creek, who was one of the favorites to win D10. And Warren was obviously in the mix with a pretty strong team this year. So them winning D10 was pretty impressive. But other than that, the only other upset maybe would be the Erie girls beating McDowell for 6A. But other than that, I think those other 10 classes were pretty much set from the beginning of the year that, we had some really dominant teams this season.
I think really the only other significant, at least in my mind, maybe not a major upset, but definitely they were the underdogs, was Fairview beating Greenville on the girls' side and getting to the finals.
Yeah, Fairview's never done that before. Kind of looking back 2 years ago, they had won 3 games and won 3 games the year before that, and they had never been to a D10 championship game before. So to beat Greenville and to get there this year is pretty impressive, and they're going to be making their first ever PIAA playoff appearance this weekend. And Coach Aaron Garrity's done a great job. He's a young guy who's been coaching just youth basketball, but he took over last year and has done a great job. So, yeah, Fairview's a really nice story this year. And we'll see what kind of push we get from all the 25 teams in the first round here.
Yeah, Friday night will go down as one of the more incredible nights of basketball that I can remember. As I said during the broadcast and the postgame, that if this was just a normal night in the regular season, it would have been special. But to have games like we had with Grove City and Hickory, Sharon and Fairview, Wilmington and Farrell, Sharpsville and Mercyhurst Prep, all these games going down to the wire. I said it was only appropriate that it was March 1st. It was March Madness had begun.
Absolutely, you do need, and also Lakeview West Middlesex came down the last second. It was an outstanding night of basketball. There wasn't any bad games going on. At the same night, you have Jamestown winning its first ever D10 title in boys basketball. So, really exciting night overall on Friday. There were some good games on Saturday, but, yeah, like you said, I don't think anything's going to match Friday for a while.
Yeah, no question. I think the other thing we saw, and, over time, I'm sure we could debate if it's a factor or not, but it was clearly a factor on Friday and even Saturday some, where the third matchups between these region rivals, when in all the cases the favorite had won in the regular season both games, somewhat handily, but the games were totally different over the weekend. And, Farrell struggled to win. Hickory had to battle Grove City to win. Greenville girls almost got upset by Lakeview. Lakeview and West Middlesex, I guess, would have been the one difference. They were the only ones that had lost both of the regular season games, correct?
Yeah, I think so. And it just on that list as well, thinking back to 2 weeks ago, McDowell beat Erie twice in boys, and then Erie beats them to go play Kennedy for the D10 title. It's amazing, these region games, that you get used to playing somebody, and all of a sudden you figure out how to beat them. And it's pretty incredible, that third meeting between these teams, how it goes down. So it was definitely interesting how the regions have worked out and how the playoff matches have worked out this year.
You know, one of the big issues that I have, and I had tweeted it yesterday, and there has been some discussion with the District 10 over their policy of not truly having an award ceremony for the championship teams. I briefly talked to Pete Iacino on Saturday, and he had said that they got rid of it a few years ago because of some issues with the runner-up teams, maybe mishandling the medals, if you know what I mean. And I basically said, hey, just give the runner-ups their box and their trophy, and then have a ceremony for the champions. 99% of the teams will never win another title in that year, and we're talking about 5 minutes. I think District 10 really needs to do this. It takes away from the special nature of these games and for these teams.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you. And I can remember just a few incidents that I witnessed as far as the losing team not handling it well. I know there was a baseball team that, when they lost at UPMC Park, kind of just chucked their medals in the garbage can while they're leaving, and they broke something. And it's a shame that has to affect everything. I understand not doing it for like football because it's a huge team, but basketball, your team is 12, 14 kids. Volleyball, you could easily do it for. They do it on the state level. I think you could pretty much get away with it doing it for most sports, just because it's not a ton of time to do it. As long as you have your announcer working with District 10 officials in sync and having a roster ready to go, I think it should be a very smooth, quick process. And it's definitely a special thing for the kids and for the families. Take video, take photos of it, and it's something they'll never forget. So, yeah, I think it's one of the things they really need to kind of analyze and look at what can they do to make it happen. If it means starting a game 15 minutes later on the brackets, that's perfectly worth it, I think. Yeah,
and I agree. All year we go through this. I know you and I are kind of on the same page when we go do games and broadcast. It's a long year. We're hoping to get out early and not be around gyms too long. But if there's one night of the year that I know I don't mind when the games end, I'm hoping for exciting basketball, I'm looking forward to the ceremonies, is championship weekend. I think if there's one night that nobody should care about the games going a little bit late, would be these games this weekend.
Exactly, and I think what goes into it is it takes a lot to win a district 10 championship. There's some classes you beat one team. There are teams some classes you got to beat 3 teams, 4 teams, whatever. So it's a special thing. I was talking to Coach Dan Perfetto at Mercer's Prep girls on Saturday, and he said, even if you're the heavy favorite, it takes a lot to win a D10 title. So really it's a special thing, and kids should really embrace that and enjoy it. You see these teams that win for the first time or the first time in a long time, they really want to soak in the moment and take advantage of that. And it's one of those things too. You look at the last team to win on a day, they get to stay on the court, take some photos, enjoy it. If it's a doubleheader, that first team, get out of there. We got a game going on here now. So if you had to schedule it a few minutes later and had let that team enjoy it, get some photos, tell the game behind it, hey, we'll give you 15 minutes to warm up, but we're not going to start the clock till they're done. I think that's perfectly fine. I think fans will be fine with it. I think most media will be fine with it. It'd be a good idea.
I have offered multiple times to the District 10 to be their PR guy. And I've got laughed out of the gym. But this is the case where, like Friday night, Farrell wins the District 10 championship and had a slight, ceremony after, a couple pictures, but that was it. And there was no really other celebration. And unlike Hickory, who got to celebrate and be on the floor for a while after, Farrell got a little bit shortchanged. And I think it's unfortunate. It's the nature of the beast, but I think it's unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, too, is these are the District 10 championships. It's their own championships, so they can pretty much dictate what they want to do. They can let these kids have their moment and let their teams enjoy it. If that even means scheduling D10 championships, different sites, and having just that be the last game, that's one thing. But I think people would rather see a double or triple header and see a lot of championship basketball or the sports at the same time. So I just think they got to take a look at how do we let the kids enjoy it. It's their own product. It's not like they're shuffling them out of there for no reason. They can dictate what they want to do and let them do it. So I really think the schools and D10 need to have a conversation about how they handle celebrations and ceremonies and things like that.
A couple other tidbits. You attended a game at the legendary E.J. McCluskey Gymnasium for the first time. What were your impressions?
It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I know it's very historic. I really like the banners, the way they display them. It's better than most high schools. I think a lot of colleges do sort of a similar thing. I've always thought that's a really cool idea to have it right across the gym, and pretty much everywhere you sit, you can look at them and read them. And I caught some Fairview fans looking at, wow, Farrell was so good during this stretch in the 50s, and this stretch, and this stretch. And I really think it promotes your school a lot, the way that they do it. And it's a great gym. I really like I know I'm from Marana, but the track that goes around, similar to what PVEC has in Erie. I just think that gives a whole different part of the atmosphere. Slippery Rock University has the same kind of thing, where you can walk around on the side and look down on the game. That really adds to the atmosphere, and I wish more gyms had that. So it was a great time at Farrell. Hopefully get down there again pretty soon here in the playoffs.
We're talking with Tom Reisenweber of the Erie Times this week in District 10. Tom, we have a week off as we begin the final 2 weeks of the basketball season. It's the best time of year. You had posed over the weekend, I thought it was an interesting topic, that why do the PIAA take a week off at this time of year? Would it be better if they gave the teams a week off after the Western Finals, the teams that are going to Hershey, some extra time, instead of giving every team extra time between Saturday and this coming Friday? Your thought about that?
Yeah, I think the main thing I was kind of going towards is it's so crazy to me how much travel there is on a school night in this PIAA semifinals, especially with the crossover brackets now. You have a lot of teams east and west playing each other, so there's a lot of long travel. I can remember covering the Mercy's Prep girls in Bedford, and it was a 3-hour drive for both teams. They were playing a team from Philadelphia on a Tuesday night, and that's just crazy to me. And I thought, if you start the first round this coming Tuesday and Wednesday, you could have that week between the semifinals and championship. You could have people get ready for their hotels, get everything travel ready to go. I think you'd get a lot more people going to Hershey because you're not rushing in 2 days to figure out how you're going to get there and stay there, and hotels won't sell out right away to you. So I just think that's the big thing. I actually talked to Pete Iacino about that. He said he had a similar idea he's proposed, but the big backlash is, you look at how many games are in the first round between Tuesday and Wednesday. I think it's over 600. And scheduling officials is the big thing, is trying to get them all on the same page. Now, I thought, well, I understand that because there's a lot of people that schedule. But if districts are kind of proactive about that, say, going ahead, you're going to host, the 10-1, 10-2, you're going to host this game. You know how many games you're going to host. So if you get your officials together, just an idea of who can do what on what those 2 games, 2 days, you can have that kind of ready to go before the D10 championships are even played. So I think there's a way to do it. I'm guessing there's too much backlash right now. I just think that's the best way to go. And the other solution, I think, would be to start girls basketball a week earlier, like in Ohio. So each sport has their own championship weekend. The girls have their state championships one weekend, boys the week after. They start early because they don't need to wait for football for the girls. So I just think there are solutions out there, maybe a Final Four weekend to kind of cut down on travel, but I don't think the PIAA is talking about much right now with this weekend. But hopefully they kind of come up with some solution, because that PIAA semifinal travel on a school night is just nuts.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that, and that'll be a good topic for down the road. I agree that some tweaks to the system need to be made. Lastly, Tom, 25 District 10 teams will play in the PWA tournament, boys and girls, starting this weekend. In your prediction mind, which teams will be heading to Hershey?
I think the Kennedy Catholic boys, to me, is the favorite. I know they'll have to beat a team from Philadelphia in the semifinals, but I think they can do it. It's tough because if you had the same teams maybe 8 years ago, 10 years ago, you could maybe make the case of 4 or 5 teams going. But you look at the brackets now, in the eastern part of the state coming in, it's just brutal. You're going to have teams like Villa Maria, Mercer's Prep, playing Eastern teams, Hickory boys, Sharon boys could be playing Hickory team or Eastern teams, Meadville boys. It's just the East is going to be leaking in a lot of these brackets, and they're so talented out there that it's going to be really tough. So I would say Kennedy boys would have to be the favorite. I think Hickory and Sharon boys have a chance to get there. West Middlesex girls certainly have a chance. But we'll have to see what happens this weekend. 25 teams going. It might be tough for about half the field to survive. So we'll see what happens going into next week. And
I also would add, I think Farrell boys have a chance as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Farrell boys in 2A. That's kind of their perfect class. Obviously they made a run in 1A. They made runs in 3A and 4A. But I think 2A is really kind of a sweet spot for them, and they could be a dangerous team this year.
Tom, we appreciate your time as always. Have a great week, and we'll recap it all next Monday.
Sounds good, Bob. Thanks.